Hey guys, Lorena Magana here with NewFilmmakers Los Angeles. Today, I'm talking to director John Bevilacqua about his new film, My Funny Valentine. Let's take a look at a clip from the film.
Simply writing what I know, and after meeting you, I thought it would be interesting to work into the script. You know, I'm really sincere about that. I feel like this could be some kind of cool, funny, weird, meta Annie Hall, you know?
Okay, I think I know what you're saying. I do love that film. It's just a little strange.
Right, but after the formalities are over, it's much more fun. Trust me. It's gonna be very cool. So.
Why don't you give our viewers a brief synopsis of your film?
My Funny Valentine is it's a comic, surreal tale of a insecure writer living in downtown Los Angeles who's trying to find who he is, and when all of these things in his life don't come to fruition, he decides to write the girl of his dreams into his life, thinking it's going to cure all of his problems, and we find out that isn't quite the case.
Do you write knowing that you're going to have certain constraints in the script?
Yes and no. Yes, it's simply like everybody is going to answer this. It depends on what you're able to pull off. A lot of it comes down to money. It comes down to a producer. They can get the things you want to make a scene or a shot or a film happen. So for me, with this one, I was writing with the constraints, knowing, okay, certain places we can shoot in, certain places we can't. As I was mentioning, you know, I wanted to shoot at the beach, but of course it's very expensive to shoot out at the Santa Monica Pier, so let's just write it as a montage and shoot it without sound. So we've got an MOS scene with music in there, which moves the whole thing, and but it was done purposefully, knowing unfortunately we couldn't afford to actually shoot there. Is that good or bad? I don't know. It's just it is kind of what it is. Of course, in an ideal world, you want to kind of, you know, do all the things. You want to be Paul Thomas Anderson with a 400-yard tracking shot. You know, that would be awesome. But for now, you kind of make do with what you have. So this one had some constraints, but sometimes when you're shooting, my first feature I was shooting out in Venice Beach on the boardwalk with Danny Baldwin, and in the middle of a shot, we'd have some random person from Kansas City come up and ask him for an autograph or bug him, and he's just like, I'm kind of working here, you know. So with a low budget production, you can only permit off a certain part of what you're doing when you're shooting, right? So it was very problematic. I made it just as problematic when I was shooting this last one with The Funny Valentine, because we're shooting in downtown LA and got lots of sound problems and fire trucks going by and cop cars and things that sometimes ruin a perfectly good scene or a good take. An actor's doing something brilliant and fantastic, and all of a sudden a fire truck goes by, you're like, oh.
Now, your film's set in LA, but you make LA look so beautiful that you almost forget that it's a gritty city. Why did you intend to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very, very purposefully stated, actually. Yeah, well, thank you. The thought is this, is that whenever you see films about Los Angeles or shot in Los Angeles, they always there's a handful of things, the Beverly Hills sign, the Hollywood Hills, the Sunset Strip, and all that. So living here as a longtime resident of downtown LA, the city of Los Angeles is awesome. It's amazing. All these beautiful, gorgeous, Art Deco buildings, and it looks like a proper city, and there's people that take cabs and take the trains and the subways, and so it looks completely different than the normal driving society that you see in a Judd Apatow film or something, right, or a Jim Brooks film. So my thought is I was just trying to ape like Woody Allen films of the 70s, where people were walking on this beautifully lit sidewalk, and there's buildings, and there's people talking and being, you know, witty and affable. So I like that aesthetic, and I like that dynamic, so I was just trying to simply rip that off, but also kind of come up with a whole different, you know, aesthetic for the look. So the tone immediately, all the opening shots are of downtown LA, but there's subways, and there's, you know, trains and above ground trains and city shots and so forth. So it's I was going for a very distinct look and feel for the whole thing, so that it would stand apart from every other kind of film that was kind of shot here.
You have some really great music in this film. How closely did you work with your music supervisor?
Oh, thank you. I've got that's my music supervisor, Charles Rajo. Fantastic. He's really just incredibly knowledgeable about music. I love music, and I'm a big fan, and will listen to tons of stuff to find the right things for scenes, but I go to him to tell me, okay, what's cool or what's happening. I used to be kind of cool when I was a young guy, and now I'm old and crazy, and so it's a different kind of dynamic. So I have to rely on people who actually know what they're doing. So, but Charles was great, and so, but we used, like, you know, there's a Best Coast track in there that I love. There's a UK band called Howler. There's a bunch of LA bands. So it's kind of an interesting montage of music, because we're all over the place. But you're just trying to find something that suits the scene and serves the purpose and moves the action forward. And but yeah, I'm a huge music fan, but I know how powerful the right song and the right scene can be. You know, as we were talking about before. You know, I'm a big Cameron Crowe fan, and he's brilliant at placing the right music with the right scene. And you know, and so you watch this movie and you go, oh God, that's awesome. I wish I thought of that. You know, it's great. So yeah, so a lot of, again, to me, it's just as important that the sound design, the score, and the composer is a guy named Mark Daniel Dunnett, who's a fantastic guy out of Toronto, and he did an amazing job with. We were trying to kind of come up with something that was interesting and ethereal. I was a big Sigaroos fan, and so we were trying to go something that was a bit more kind of melancholy versus the kind of happy indie comedy, you know, trope that you see all the time, you know. So I was trying to avoid some of the wildly cliche tropes, you know, the manic pixie dancing to a Pixies track, right? That's the ultimate cliche, right? So, although somebody's, I'm sure, done that, and I've probably just insulted somebody, I'm sure, but hopefully I've avoided some of those cliches as well.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.